Now, did you also keep a log of Colonel North's incoming telephone calls?
Yes, I did.
And that, too, was a fairly accurate record of those calls?
I wouldn't call it an accurate record. It was a log. I didn't keep all incoming calls. If he was there to receive a call, it did not go in the log. That was just to keep track of messages which he needed to return, calls he needed to return. It was not an accurate record of outgoing calls or incoming calls, no.
You kept a record of those calls that needed to be returned when
Correct.
messages were left. And do you know where those logs are today?
They were shredded.
In November of 1986?
Yes.
And we'll get to that later. Would you describe what your working hours were like, Miss Hall, during the 4 years that you served Colonel North?
We worked very long hours. I usually put in at least a 12-hour day.
Usually starting when?
It varied. Sometimes I would start at 8. A lot of times I started at 10, and we worked on till 9 or 10 at night, usually sometimes later and sometimes earlier.
You rarely left the office, as I understand, before 7 or 8 in the evening?
Almost never.
Okay. Was it Colonel North's practice to dictate memoranda of his meetings?
No, it wasn't.
Would he at certain times dictate minutes of meetings he attended?
He would dictate minutes as requested by the National Security Council in which the President was present.
And as I understand it, on those occasions when Colonel North dictated memoranda to you, you usually typed them directly into your word processor.
Correct.
Now, do you recall the general matters that Colonel North was working on when you became his secretary in 1983 and as it progressed over the years?
I believe when I first began working for him, he was working on development of a crisis management center, and he was working military exercises and Central America. And then when the terrorism incidents began to become more frequent, he picked up that as part of his duties.